Okay, I wanted to do a video on car seats. These videos can be controversial, but usually it involves installation. I'm not going to be installing this in a vehicle. I'm just going to talk to you about some things that I've learned over the last 2 years. I wish I knew 2.5 years ago. My son turned 2 last month. If I would have known this stuff 2 years and 6 months ago, would have saved some money and a lot of hassle and confusion. Uh, I mean, if you're having your first kid, or if you have already had your first kid, you know your brain is like mashed potatoes before. And there's so many things to think about. All you're thinking about is get a car seat, right? All you're thinking about is that, well, when we have this child in the hospital, we got to put them in a car seat to get them home. We can't strap them to the roof, right? We can't throw them in the bed of the truck. So you got to have a car seat. So you put it on your registry, or you just buy a car seat, or you get a car seat from a friend or something like that. And that's what you do. Well, I would have done things differently. The thing that everybody knows is a child's got to face rearward in the beginning. And that's about the limit, and that's what I knew. But there is two types of car seats. There's car seats that only can face rearward, or there's ones that can face rearward and frontward. And we, in the beginning, got a rear-facing one that had a limit of 35 pounds. And I'll put it up on the screen. And it's a good car seat. It's a Graco, and it costs a bunch of money, and it was handy because you could get a second base for it. It's a two-piece car seat, so that's another distinction, is that there's car seats that are there's no base, and there's car seats that have a base. This particular one had a base, and we had one base in my wife's car and one base in my truck, and we could switch the car seat back and forth. That was the good thing about it. It was very handy. But what I realized now is that buying a car seat that has a weight limit of 35 pounds costs you money in the long run. It does. Flat out. Now, here's one thing that I didn't know, and you're probably saying, "Oh yeah," well, because there's no way to know really. Is that how old is the kid when they're 35 pounds? How old? Is it 3 years, 2.5, 2, 4? Right? Who knows? We know, hopefully, right, that the kid is going to get to 35 pounds, but when? It's all over the place. It can be at any point in time. Ours got to 35 pounds before they were 2 years old. So our guy, we got a big kid, but and he's tall too. It was a mistake to get this. It was a really good car seat, but McAllister grew out of it, and now we have to buy another one. If we would have bought one that was reversible, right, and had a higher weight limit, it would have been good for the entire length of time that my son needed to be in a car seat. Now, let's talk about the laws that I didn't know, that you might not know, because it's state by state, and it's very confusing. In New York State, that's where I'm in. I'm in upstate New York in the Catskills. We have two numbers that are extremely important, 2 years. Two ages that are very important. The first one is 2 years old, and the next one is 8 years old. So 2 years old is, in New York State, the child must be rear-facing to at least 2 years old. Now, it's best practice to have that child face rearward as long as possible. Now, there also might be some clauses. I don't know, maybe you got a 50-pound 2-year-old that's freaking this tall. I don't know, right? And maybe you can face them forward because they're going to kick out the rear window. I don't know that part. But generally speaking, the law is 2 years of age. They must face rearward. The other one, 8 years of age, is the amount of time that the child must be in a car seat before you can just let them sit in a seat with a seatbelt on. 8 years. Another thing, you might have a 6-foot-tall 7-year-old. I don't know. Maybe you got Shaquille O'Neal or something as a kid, and they're really tall. There might be an exception for that. But generally speaking, 2 years of age and 8 years of age. This is so important when buying a car seat. It's so important because it decides what car seat you should buy. right? Now in New York State, man, there might be some other states out there that are less. Maybe there's a state out there that's 6 years. Maybe it's 2 years and 6, or maybe there's no distinction on the rear facing and it's just 6 years. I don't know. There's some wacky states out there. But generally speaking, I think it's pretty close to 2 years and 8 years. So that's generally. So what should I have done? I said I made a mistake with this other car seat. It's a great car seat, but it was a mistake. Why? Because I have to buy another one now. I should have bought one car seat. That's it. I should never have. I shouldn't have to buy 2 car seats. Well, 3 car seats actually, but I should never have had to do that. So what should I have bought? I should have bought a car seat that's reversible, that's good for the entire life of the child in a car seat, like this particular one. This is a Graco. This is an older model. This is a Nautilus 80E. There's a newer one because we have 2 of them. There's no base. There's no base on this. So if you have 2 cars and you don't want to buy a second one, I'll give you some tips on that at the end. But if you don't want to buy a second one, then you're going to be moving it from one vehicle to the next. The next thing is that manufacturers have a lifespan, a recommended lifespan, I think, or a warranty lifespan, but basically they say do not use this car seat for more than X years. And Graco, I'm talking in terms of Graco because this is the one I know most about, and also because I believe Graco is the most selling car seat, or any of the stuff. They sell tons of stuff, but Graco I think is the one that sells the most car seats. They have 2 years, 2 types of lifespans. One is 7 years and one is 10 years. Now, how do they make that distinction? 7 years is a plastic reinforced. Plastic reinforced car seat, 10 years is a steel reinforced. Now, what is that? Well, if you look on the back of the car seat, this particular one is steel reinforced. Right here, you can see the steel. Right? You can feel the difference. If you want, you can get a magnet, right? Get a magnet, put it up against, and if you don't really know for sure. This one lasts 10 years, right? Now think about this. If your plan is to have one car seat, and you live in, say, New York State, or I'm assuming California probably is also another 8-year state. If you buy a plastic reinforced car seat, you say, I'm doing this one time, right? And you don't know that they have lifespans. And you buy a plastic one from Graco, and it's a 7-year car seat, and the kid's got to be in a seat for 8 years. Well, you're going to be pretty annoyed when you figure out that, oh, geez, for 1 year I need to spend another few $100s on a car seat, right? So you got to make sure that you buy a steel reinforced one. You must buy a steel reinforced one from Graco specifically, or you must buy one that's 8 years plus from some other manufacturer, at least if you are in an 8-year state. So you need to know the laws, and you need to know what the manufacturer's recommended lifespan is for the car seat. 2 very important things. You have to know both of those things. You have to know both of those things. So look it up, right? The next thing is that why should I have bought, well, I should have bought this one time. Now, you might be saying, okay, yeah, but I'm having 2 kids. So buying the 35-pound weight limit one is good because I could use it for 2 kids. Well, I hate to tell you, okay? You're just not thinking far enough into the future. You're not doing the math far enough into the future, okay? Think about it. You buy the 35-pound one, right? You use it for your first child. And then let's say after, 2.5 years after your first child is born, you have your second child. And now you take this 35-pound one and you use it for your second child. That's great. All right. You buy one of these bigger ones for your first child. Well, guess what? It's 8 years, right? Well, you got a 4-year difference here now. You can't give that big one to your next child because this child, right? It's not going to work out. That next child's not going to get into their 6.5 years old or something like that. You have to buy a second one of these, which means you're buying 3 seats, which means you should just buy 2 of these. One for the first child, one for the second child, the 10-year lifespan ones, you buy 2 car seats, done. Now, clearly, if you have 2 cars and you want to have car seats in both ones, well, it is what it is. I mean, it's a luxury to have two cars. I mean, it is. Trust me. I got four cars actually, but and it's a luxury. Two of them don't work. I should clarify. I got four cars. One of them doesn't work. One of them sort of works. But it's a luxury. It's a luxury, and it was convenient to have that base thing, right? But in all honesty, there's ways to save money and get two really, really good 10-year lifespan car seats. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Used car seats. You can save money by getting a used car seat. All right. And my tip though on this is that you only buy a steel reinforced used car seat. Don't buy. And if you can get one of those Graco ones that are plastic reinforced, like I was just talking about, 35-pound, you can get it for very cheap, or someone's giving it to you. Take it and use it, without a doubt. But if you're buying it or you're putting it on a registry new, I would highly suggest you crying it once and get the expensive one. And if you're going to buy used at a thrift store or something, steel reinforced. This one is used. Now, the lifespan. You might know, 10 years, okay? And when you buy that thing new, it's going to have a date at the bottom. But also with used, you got to make sure you check that date. And on a Graco one, it's underneath here. And it's a white label with black text. And it's going to have the name, and then it's going to have the date, the start date, not the end date. Okay? This is the start date. And this one says 2017. April 8th, 2017. My wife picked this up at a thrift store for $15. Now, this thing is a very expensive car seat. This is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. The steel reinforced 10-year, meaning it's good till 2027. It's good for more than 4 years, which is nice. Now, I'm still going to have to figure out what to do after the 4 years. That's what this thing is good for. It's in great shape. It even has an insert, so this is important. When you buy one of these ones that last a long time, it has another cushion set up in here. It's a second cushion set up for an infant, because clearly you put an infant in this thing, it's going to be flying all over the place. You need another insert in here. This one comes with it. It comes two sets of pads. It is an expensive item, but for $15. When she brought it home, I was like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing? I mean, this thing. Did you check the dates?" And they're like, "Oh, I didn't check the dates. I mean, how long does this thing last?" I had to do the research. And I thought it was only good for a year at first, and then I realized this was a steel reinforced one, which was good for 10 years. And I said, "Sam, you hit the jackpot here." So. Used car seats are good. Look for stores. Look for like thrift stores that specialize in kid stuff, like used kid stuff. There's tons of them out there. And there's one an hour away from here. You're going to spend a little bit more money. You can look on Facebook Marketplace, without a doubt. Make sure before you even go there that you check the date and you do the math, okay? You look the model number up. Let's say the thing costs $400 new and they want $200 for it, but it's only good, it's a 10-year one, but it's only good for 3 more years. Well, Jesus. Not only is it used, but you're paying half price for something that's only good for less than half the amount of time. You see what I mean? So it's not working out. This thing, obviously, $15 was incredible, but I mean, I don't think deals like this grow on trees. But it's something you gotta ask some people too. Generally speaking, though, is that you're really, unless somebody makes a mistake, you're not really going to be able to find a car seat from a friend, right? Think about it. If they bought this car seat and they used it for 8 years and it's a 10-year-old car seat, the most you're going to be doing is 2 years. Now, how did we get this? I don't know exactly. Somebody made a mistake. Somebody screwed up. And they just donated the car seat, right? They said, "Oh, geez, we need a car seat for an extra 2 years for our child." And they bought the car seat in 2017 or whatever, or they needed it for 4 years or 6 years. And I mean, if you think about it, that kind of probably is what happened, right? It's a 2017, right? And I didn't think about this until right now. It's a 2017. Right now, it's 2023. Okay, so it's 8 years is the limit. So they did what I did. They bought a 35-pound, and then after a certain amount of time, whatever it was, 2.5 years or something like that, they bought this. They used it till the child turned 8 and then donated it. And that's why they used it for 6 years, and I got 4 years left. So somebody made the mistake that I made, and I'm benefiting from it. So that's important. That's amazing that I just really thought about this right now. Okay, so I got a list right here. So the last thing I want to talk about is installation. Now we're not going to install this because I'm leaving this till the end too, because the really dedicated viewers are going to see this part. This will probably be the controversial part, if it's controversial at all. But there's 2 ways to install these things, right? There's 2 systems. One involves the seatbelt, and you put the seatbelt through a slot right here, right? And there's some clamps. You can see these clamps, right? You put it through this, and then you put it through the slot, and that seatbelt goes through, and it plugs into the actual seatbelt clip-in part. And you push the seat down as far as you can, and you pull that seatbelt so that it locks, and then it's in there. The other way that car seats usually can be installed is this hook system. See this right here? This is a hook, and usually on most cars, most semi-modern cars, even 90s, right? There's a bar, it's a U-shaped bar, and it's hidden in the seat somewhere. And you hook this thing on that bar, and you pull this strap really, really tight. There's a button here. So you can push down on the seat and pull this strap, and then you can reset yourself, and it's locked, right? And you can push down more and pull out. And my tip here is that if the car seat doesn't have this, do not buy it. Those seatbelt mounting ones, that system, it sucks. It sucks. It's complicated. It's hard to get right, and it can loosen. Now here, let me explain how they work. Because if you don't know how it works, you can't figure out the problems with it, okay? First of all, the way a seatbelt works is that, and I'm going to call this, I don't know the exact technical name for it, I do believe in some cases it's called an inertia lock. The way a seatbelt works is you're in the seat, you slam on that brake, right? And you can't move forward. It locks. Somehow it locks. It just knows. Why? Because there's an inertia brake. That when you hit that brake, is something that falls into a slot and locks that seatbelt from going forward, from pulling out. And then when you let up on that brake, that lock comes out and then it moves freely. So what you need to do is when you install one of these car seats in the back seat, you need to get that seatbelt, the inertia lock of that seatbelt, to fall into place and not unlock, okay? What that means is no slack. Think about this now. When you're driving in a car and you hit that brake, right, and you go forward and you're locked in, you could lean on that seatbelt for all of eternity and it will never unlock. It needs slack to unlock, right? So when you lean back, it gets the slack, that lock comes undone, and then you can move it. So what you need to do is push down this seat as hard as possible and get that inertia lock to kick in, and then you let it go, it's locked. But if there's slack in it, this thing is going to fall all over the place. Now, even if you do get it locked, where, okay, I pushed down enough and it's tight, it's locked, and I can't move this thing. You put your kid in this seat, right? And they go and kick in the back of your seat and they're pushing back on it. If they create any slack whatsoever in there, well, the inertia lock's going to come out and it's going to loosen up this seat. And I know this from experience, okay? I don't like that method, okay? It's not foolproof as far as nothing is foolproof, right? Things can break. But this thing right here does not work on that, okay? The button right here, this thing cannot loosen up unless the button is pressed or it breaks. It's not going to break, okay? So it is, as far as I'm concerned, it is 99.9% foolproof. That seatbelt thing is not, okay? It's very, very difficult to use that thing. It's difficult to set it up. I highly suggest, especially if you're going to be pulling it and moving it in and out of cars, that you do not get one without this, and you do not use that seatbelt thing. Maybe you, I mean, can you use both? It is a possibility. I don't know. I don't think there is something in the instruction manual that says you can't use both. That I'm not sure about. If you want to use both, I mean, as long as it says it's okay to do that, then you can if you feel safer that way. But that one with the seatbelt, it has problems. It's very difficult to use, and I would highly, highly suggest that you get one that has this locking system. All right, well, look, that's it. I hope I didn't annoy too many people. I hope I have explained why those smaller ones are not worth it, and I just buy the big one. Just buy the big one and spend the money. Or, I mean, yeah, you put it on your registry. Somebody might, say, I don't have any family member that can spend $400 on a car seat. I get it. Put it on the registry, and maybe 2 people will split it, or 3 people will split it. And you might say, I don't have the money to spend $400 right now on a car seat. I can only spend $200 on a car seat. Well, I get that. Okay, trust me, I get it. Okay. If you can't do it, then you can't do it. But if you do have the money, if you can come up with the extra $200, if you can find 2 relatives to split it, right? Do that, because in the long run, you are going to save money. Period. Okay? You are going to save money. That's it. All right, everyone. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.